You're listening to the IFFTV Podcast.
Speak to you guys about our last one, the standing competition with Team Feedpay. It's basically a last man standing competition, which is a tenner to enter, and what's going to happen is on the 28th of August is when it begins. It's for 8 rounds, and as I said already, it's only a tenner. And what you do is you go on, it's a link in the description or the bio, and you can head over, click the link, register today, and what happens is the first place winner will get 50% of the overall prize. So whatever the amount of people that enter, so say there's 50 people, that's 500 goes into the pot. 50% of that goes to the Irish Heart Foundation. The other 50% goes to the winner. So not only are you helping out a charity, you're also helping out yourself. The fact if you're confident that you're going to win. So the more people that enter, the better for you, the better for the person that's involved, because it means more money at the end of the table for yourselves. So check it out today. The link is in the description and the link is in the bio.
And welcome to the Irish Abroad Show, episode 5, and what is surely going to be our busiest show so far today, because obviously with the opening weekend of the Premier League to look back. There was a double game week just gone by with weekend action and midweek action in the Football League, and obviously other things as well between Scotland, Belgium, Sweden and European football, and maybe even other various parts of the world. I'm here sandwiched in between a Paul sandwich this week, because obviously I've got my regular co-host Paul Tierney, and we're also delighted to be joined by head of the channel Paul Neal. And I suppose it makes up for the fact we don't have an interview this week, that we have the main man himself to join us.
Thanks very much. I feel honoured now, Jay. Thanks very much. He's a flying, though. I have to say, he's a flying with these Irish Abroad podcasts every week, and they seem to be getting quite popular. So I feel honoured to be on it this week, and he's a flying. So fair play to both of us. And
thanks very much for the praise in return. Paul Tierney, how are you?
All good, Ger. All good. How are things with yourself?
Can't complain. Lots, as I said, loads to get stuck into and to dive into over the course of the next maybe half an hour or so. We might as well start with the Premier League, and probably was a mixed weekend from an Irish kind of point of view. Obviously, we'll touch on the performances from the likes of Seamus Coleman and Shane Duffy. We had a couple of players that were new subs, the likes of Jeff Hendrick, Conor Coventry, and then we had the likes of maybe Shane Long, Michael Obafemi, Aaron Connolly, for one reason or another, didn't even make, Conor Hourihane even, that didn't even make their matchday squads. But Shane Duffy is the main player grabbing the headlines. Probably surprised a lot of people, including myself, that he started for Brighton, considering the vibe was that Graham Potter wasn't fancy on. But he had a very, very impressive return into the Brighton team, as they picked up a massive win, even at this early stage of the season, going away to Burnley and winning 2-1 after going a goal behind. And had some very, very good stats to take away from the game. 71 touches, 45 of 49 passes completed. I'm not exactly brilliant with maths, but I can say that's probably over 90%. 10 clearances, 8 of them were headers. He won 9 of his 13 duels, made 4 tackles, 4 interceptions. Some pretty good ratings as well from local print media in the Brighton area. Sussex Live gave him 7 out of 10 rating. The Argus gave him 8 out of 10. So overall, it was a positive opening weekend for Shane Duffy. Whoever wants to take,
yeah,
Paul, it's your show.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good to see. I've been thinking about it the last while. The 3 lads who they have playing centre half now, Dunk, Duffy, and Webster as well. Just looking at Ben White's performance on Friday for Arsenal, it's going to be very difficult to get by those 3 lads in terms of set pieces, corners, etc., because they're huge lads, and I wouldn't want to be running at them as an attacker as well, because they'll just defend really well against you. And just after seeing Ben White's performance as well, great to see Shane Duffy back in and with a great performance as well.
Yeah, I think with Duffy, he summed it up in his, I think it was an after-match interview. He said, and he just said, he came back after a bad season. He thought his Premier League dream was over, basically, because the season was just that bad for him. And I think he came back early from the loan at Celtic. He's put his head down and he's grafted, and he's gone back to kind of, I suppose, what made him successful in the beginning. And, going back to Brighton, he had his own comforts back there as well. going back. He had his friends, family, and stuff like that. Stuff he didn't have at Celtic and stuff like that. I suppose that kind of reminded him and grounded him back to probably his best. It's just one game, I know that, but it's just great. Like we were always wanting for him to get back, and we always supported him even through the bad times, like all of us on the channel and stuff like that. So, I think everyone's delighted to see, and hopefully now he can have a good season, and it's not just one good game, it's one good season.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's one good game, so we won't kind of maybe read too much and get too carried away, but Brighton have 2 more Premier League matches. I don't know who actually they are playing next.
They're playing Everton on the 28th, so they've someone in between.
28, and obviously the game this weekend.
They've got Watford this Saturday night. It's on Sky.
Brilliant. This is why I have the two of you here. So they've got Watford and Everton the next 2 matches. If he can put in 2 more solid performances, we're going to get on later on the show that there's going to be a lot of competition for that centre-back place. But look, he's a nailed on him for the squad. He had a good game as well at the end of the season last year against Hungary. Could he be in his Stephen Kenny's starting team for the Portugal match?
Yeah, definitely. I think he should definitely be considered anyway. Look, it was a good performance. He's our main man, particularly at centre-half, has been for a while. So we want him in that side. And against the likes of Portugal, especially, likes Portugal and Serbia especially, we need him in there, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's funny how people write off players so quickly. Like 2 years ago, Shane Duffy was our best player for 2 years in a row. And if he was in any way injured, there was panic stations. Can we get him back in? He was our best goal threat. He was the one to score goals. The opposition feared him in both boxes. So I think, look, Stephen Kenny went with him for the Bulgaria game. I think he obviously made a slight error and made up for it by scoring the equaliser in the game. But I don't think if you look at his Irish performances, I don't think he's ever really let Ireland down. There was the game against, I think it was Wales at home, and he basically coached Matt Doherty through the game. I think just his overall experience is invaluable within the squad anyway. A lot of the younger lads at Brighton rave about how good he was to them and stuff like that, and within the Ireland squad as well. I'm sure Darragh O'Shea will be raving about him as well. But I think if Duffy is playing like he did, he's playing in a back 3. I think Stephen Kenny will probably stay with that back 3. And if Duffy just keeps playing in that position leading up to the games, I think he'll have to start. Yeah, I definitely think so. And he'll probably be, if Seamus isn't playing, I think he'll probably be captain as well.
That brings us on nicely, actually, to Seamus Coleman, because he was just the second of 3 Irish players that started over the weekend. Ironically, all defenders. He played the entire game as Everton had a 3-1 victory against Southampton. The Liverpool Echo gave him a pretty mixed rating, I think it's fair to say, 6 out of 10. Saying that he started the game well, got up the field quickly, and was good support for Townsend down the flank. He was obviously heavily as well involved in Decore's goal, but did say he was caught out quite a good bit defensively. Paul, I suppose Neelan is probably the best man to talk here because you are an Everton fan. Did you get to watch the game kind of Saturday? What were your kind of views in Everton? And maybe what's the kind of general vibe going around from maybe different Everton fan groups, supporters club on Seamus' performance on Saturday?
Everywhere I read he had a great game. So I didn't watch the game. I was obviously up in Derry, so I didn't get a chance to watch the game. And I think like obviously everybody knows that Everton need a new right back, a more of a modern player who can get up and down a bit more than Seamus. But I still think everybody really wants Seamus in and around the team and the squad in that sort of way. I think people were more raving about Benitez in the second half, how he made like a technical change and he went with Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up top rather than having just the one striker, and he moved to Mario Gray out as well. So I think people were more raving about that. I said people seem to say as well on Toffee TV especially, they said that Seamus grew into the game. I think they were trying to point out that he was doing things that maybe under Ancelotti wanted him to do, and maybe under Benitez he wants him to do different things. So maybe instead of trying to pass out from the back the whole time, I think eventually he just kind of moved on to just hitting balls up the channel to players and stuff like that, where obviously with Ancelotti it was more try to keep the ball, try to build from the back and work your way up and stuff like that, which I think sometimes Seamus was never really that type of player. He was better when he was running onto balls and stuff like that. So I think that's more what Benitez probably did with him. And as far as I was aware, he grew into the game. But look at Seamus Coleman's a model professional. I think he can play anyway if he's told. I just think age is just slowly catching up on him, and I think that everybody around Everton circles would like. Obviously, Dumfries was the big link so far. He's just gone to Inter, but I think if they had got him, I think Seamus could have been sitting on the bench, not straight away, but I think in a couple of months' time. So I'm kind of happy that he's getting game time and stuff like that, and we'll need him playing when we go into our games as well, I feel.
Yeah, Paul Tierney, I only seen this game as well, highlights-wise, on Match Today, so it's kind of hard to make out how anyone plays from a 5-6 minute highlight package. You got anything else maybe to kind of pick up or add on from Seamus's display over the weekend?
No, I think Paul summed it up perfectly there. I think we'll definitely need him involved with Ireland. Whether he'll play all 3 games, I wouldn't say so, mainly because of the age. But look, he'll be very important, I'd say, against Portugal and Serbia in particular, just because of the experience, the players you're going to be playing against there. He's definitely going to have to be involved or playing.
Yeah, just then to wrap up the Premier League, Kieran Clark was the only other Irish player that started at the weekend. He played every minute in Newcastle's 4-2 home defeat to West Ham. The Chronicle Live didn't really hold back on the poor rating, only giving him 4 out of 10, saying he was fine in the first half, but the second half proved a major test. And then just 2 other substitution appearances from Irish players. Almeida came on for the last 14 minutes of Norwich's 3-0 defeat at Carrow Road to Liverpool, and Matt Doherty played the last 8 minutes of Spurs' 1-0 victory over Man City on Sunday. Anything either of you want to add on that? Despite the fact that I'm a Liverpool fan, I was actually out covering duty for the channel on Saturday evening, so I didn't get to see Adam's last 14 minutes. I did see bits of the City Spurs match, but can't say I picked up anything major that Matt Doherty did.
I watched Ida. I was watching the game with your mate Aldridge. Watched the second half. And he came on, last 15 minutes. There was an opportunity when someone should have scored in front of the goal, and I thought it was him. And I was watching it with like a few Ireland fans as well. They were like, "Oh, it would have been great if he had got his first goal or whatever." I think this season he'll actually do okay. I think he'll get a couple of Premier League goals. I think he needs his, I suppose, Aaron Connolly moment where he breaks onto the scene at a Premier League game and, you know, upsets the odds and gets that goal and just take that little bit of confidence, almost like Troy did as well with Ireland with his debut goal. He's taking that form now into MK Dons, and I'm sure we'll come to that. And then Matt Doherty, I think Gary Neville or Carragher said it on the commentary, and they said that, you know, I think in some games when Spurs are expected to go at teams, I think Doherty will start and play more. Whereas when they're defensive, like players like Tanganga, will probably start where he's more defence minded. I think he's a centre back originally, and he was just kind of pushed out there for that game. So he looks a good player too. But it's good. Like, I think it's like that with Everton, with Seamus as well. When Everton are supposed to be, you know, I suppose defending, Seamus Coleman more often than not in the last few seasons would have played. Whereas if it's an attacking thing, he probably wouldn't have, and there'd probably be someone else in there. So that's, I think, where the thing where Everton need a new right back in that regard, just for getting up the pitch quicker. But I think Doherty will be fine. I think the next game, whoever they play, if it's someone they're expected to beat, I think Doherty will be back in there. I don't think he really needs to worry. Nuno knows him quite well, and that it seems like it's a father-son kind of relationship with them too. So I think he'll be fine. And Adam, I think, just needs a goal too.
Yeah, and Paul Tierney, any final thoughts on the Premier League before we wrap up? And you might maybe bring us a championship roundup. Overall, as I said, like it's not really overly encouraging when I'm only talking about 3 Irish players that started, 5 in total only playing. Like, you could probably actually name up more Irish players that were Premier League clubs that weren't even involved in the matchday squads over the weekend.
Yeah, but again, it is only the first week. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be stuff like that. Players will have to come in to cover for others. You look at the big signings some teams have made. The likes of Villa, Buendia, they've spent a lot of money on him. He has to play, and that's in and around Conor Horahan's position. So look, they have to play him in the first game, and injuries are going to come in. So these lads will get involved, and will get him, if they need to, will get a move before the end of the transfer window as well. So look, plenty of time left. I wouldn't be too worried. One interesting thing on Matt Doherty is they're playing Wolves away this week, so that'll be a big one for Nuno and Matt. So that should be interesting, whether Matt comes into the team or how Nuno deals with him as well. I watched a bit of Wolves last week on the highlights. Classic Adama Traore missing a sitter again, so expect more of that. And look, Wolves are always decent. Whether Raúl Jimenez will be the same man as well, we don't know. But look, they'll give Matt Doherty and Nuno and Spurs a test on Sunday. We'll quickly move on into the Championship. We'll start with the early game from Saturday. Festi Ebosile played in a really dramatic game between Peterborough and Derby. Peterborough won 2-1 with a 100-minute winner. He played 58 minutes, and look, he was involved. It's good to see as well after his great man of the match performance against Salford in the League Cup the week before. Couple of other ones, Danny McNamara and Darragh Lenihan both played the full 90 in Millwall against Blackburn on Saturday. Gavin Kilkenny and Mark Travers also played the full 90 against Nottingham Forest for Bournemouth. Callum Robinson got a goal and an assist in a 3-2 win against Luton Town. Darragh O'Shea also played the full 90. Those two lads started the season perfectly, and we'll talk about them again later on in the show. And Ryan Manning got man of the match for Swansea in a 0-0 draw against Sheffield United, which David McGoldrick and John Egan were also involved in as well. That was live on Sky too, so we got to have a good glimpse of that. We move on to League One now. Owen Doyle got a goal in a 3-3 draw between Wimbledon and Bolton. Bolton, very entertaining so far, 2 3-3 draws. So we keep an eye on that. The man who doesn't age, Wes Hoolahan, another full 90 minutes for Cambridge. They did, however, lose 2-1 to Accrington Stanley away.
I think he got an assist, didn't he?
Did he? I didn't see
that.
Sophie
said he did,
yeah. Anyway, look, got an assist and full 90 again. The man doesn't age. What a man. Thomas O'Connor.
40 years old.
Yeah, God, mad. Thomas O'Connor scored for Burton Albion in a 2-1 win over Ipswich. Connor Shockington also played the full.
Scored an own goal there, actually, Paul.
An own goal?
Yeah, that's what Flash Score had it down for.
Live Score said it was a goal. I don't know. Don't worry about it. Own goal or goal. Anthony Scully did get a double in a 2-1 win over Fleetwood for Lincoln. He was fantastic. And the main man, Troy Parrott, got his first goal for MK Dons. Warren O'Hara and Aidan McGeady also played in a 2-1 win for Sunderland. But look, great to see Troy scoring, keeping the form going from the Andorra game in June. Marcus Harness got a goal for Portsmouth in a 2-0 win over Crewe. Ronan Curtis played, and Gavin Bazunu made his debut for Portsmouth as well, which was good to see. And only a few quick ones in League Two. Stephen Ward got an assist in Walsall's defeat against Forest Green Rovers. So that's all I have from League Two. Anyway, do you have anything yourself, Ger?
Just also from League Two from the weekend. Ex-Waterford player Aaron Drinnan scored the opener and he assisted the final goal for Leyton Orient as they ran out 3-0 winners over Exeter. And it's also as well worth mentioning as well when talking about League One that Gavin Bazunu on his Portsmouth debut kept a clean sheet in that game that Marcus Harness scored, and that was a 2-0 win for them over Crewe. And he followed that up again during the week with another clean sheet. This time they won 1-0 against Shrewsbury. So 2 games and 2 clean sheets for Gavin. Really positive start there.
Yeah, definitely. And positive start for the Portsmouth lads as well. That's 3 wins from 3 for them. And they're always a team who are in and about the playoffs. They've failed in the last 2 attempts to go up. So maybe it's their chance this year to finally get promotion and go back to where we would have seen them a lot of the time in the Championship and in the Premier League as well. I'll go on to the midweek from the EFL. So we'll start off with Darragh O'Shea and Callum Robinson again in fine form. Both got a goal last night in a 4-0 win over Sheffield United. David McGoldrick had a bad miss in that as well. I don't know if you have seen it on Sky Sports. Unfortunate, he probably should have taken it. Yeah. But unfortunately, he probably should have taken it. Probably would have made the game a bit more even. But look, good to see Darragh O'Shea and Callum Robinson on the score sheet again. And West Brom are flying so far, which is great to see. Troy Parrott got another goal against Charlton on Tuesday night for MK Dons. Again, keeping the form going from June against Andorra. So look, fantastic. And coming into the internationals as well, that's what we want to see. Marcus Harness got an assist against Shrewsbury for Portsmouth. And I just have one transfer. James McLean's obviously joined Wigan. We seen that the other night as well, which was great to see. You would have seen the posts on the socials as well. So do you have anything yourself to add to midweek there, Ger?
Just a couple of things from League Two, of course. Former Ireland international Stephen Quinn, he assisted Mansfield's goal in their 1-1 draw away to Colchester, and then just former under-21 international Niall Canavan, he scored the 4th and final goal as Bradford ran out easy 4-1 winners over Stevenage. That's all in terms of goal or assist or any kind of major contributions or involvement from the midweek. I suppose also just mention as well is that Darragh Lenihan got the winner for Blackburn last night in the Championship, beating Swansea. I think that's their 2nd win in the season. So they've had pretty decent start to the season, 7 points in 3 games. I think they'll be happy with that content. And Darragh playing very well. He's one of those that, like, I think if he's, in any other circumstance or any other situation, he probably would be getting more of a look in at Ireland. But it's just that he's a centre back and just the standard competition we have. It is our strongest position. It's just very, very hard for him to get a look in. But still taking nothing away from him. He's, still only 26, 27, and he's really, really established himself at a good level in the Championship and proven what a good player he still is.
Yeah, definitely. That's wrapped up pretty much everything from the EFL there. We can.
I was just delighted for Callum Robinson to score a goal against Sheffield. I think he was written off there, and although it's disappointing, obviously with Johnny Egan playing there and stuff like that, it's hard watching them lose 4-0 with someone like him playing for them and Dizzy. But I was delighted for Robinson. It's great to see Dara O'Shea. I mean, I think as you spoke there about Darragh Lenihan, I think Dara O'Shea's not really been in senior men's football that long. He's probably been in it 2 years now. A lot of it he was subbed, then he kind of established himself the second half of the season when the year they got the promotion. He was in and out last year, but probably established himself on the international front. I think since he's been in with Stephen Kenny, I don't think he's been out. I must look that back up, but maybe I think it was the Qatar game he might have been out of, but I think he may have played it. And then now he looks like a fully established player at West Brom. It looks like he is one of their main players now, himself and Robinson. And even like when they both scored, the way they were celebrating and all, I really enjoyed that. I'm really happy for them. But it's hard, it's mad because we do have literally so many good centre backs, and if only we started producing, say, midfielders or strikers or something like that, we'd be laughing. But we just seem to produce really good defenders and they score goals. But that's just the way it is.
Well, just on about midfielders, what about one player who could be, I think he's definitely played his way into the squad now at this stage, but could he even play his way into the starting team? Yeah, his surname is a county in Ireland, Gavin Kenny. You have to say now at this stage, someone like Jason Malumbi, who's kind of very much high up in Stephen Kenny's radar, but he's not getting game time at the moment. You'd have to think now that Gavin, who is, and he's playing really, really well. I didn't see what reviews he got for his performances on Wednesday night, but again, he got another.
He was in contention for man of the match.
There you go, and he was not far off on the weekend when they bet Nottingham Forest 2-1. He got a 7 out of 10 rating from Bournemouth, vitalfootball.co.uk. I know you can say, he's inexperienced, but he's playing well, he's in form, he's got the match sharpness, match fitness. For me, it wouldn't seem like that much for gamble to start him against Portugal.
Well, I know Kenny's kids have his. He was up for man of the match award and just a 90% pass completion, 53 out of 29 for Gavin Kenny, or 53 out of 59. Sorry. So yeah, he's been doing really well. Scott Parker really seems to trust him, and he's playing him kind of like a deep line position, which I don't know if that's Josh Cullen's best position. Is the only thing I would say, or could Josh be pushed up? I know when I did the podcast with Josh before, he said that he would be happy playing further up as an 8 rather than a 6, if that makes sense in terms of midfield. So look, it's good to have options, and I would be delighted for him to get a call up. It may be too soon, but look, I mean, he still has another week. If he can put in 2 more really big performances in that week, you never know. And I just want to say that Mark Travers has been given a good run of games now, and he's done well as well last night. So it's good to see Scott Parker sticking by these players. And it must give him so much confidence. A player like Scott Parker, who, I know people will say, Scott Parker. I thought he was a really good player, and he signed for Chelsea at a time when everybody was signing for Chelsea, like big players and stuff like that. And he went on to have a really good career, obviously with Charlton and West Ham. And I think, did he play for Fulham? I'm not sure. I know he managed them, but he's had a really good career and he was a really good midfielder. So I think learning from him will only benefit him and make him a better player regardless as well.
Yeah, I think any player who gets Football Writers of the Year, the same season your team get relegation, I think that just sums up how good of a player you are. Just maybe before we touch on Scotland and further afield, Paul, Tierney, just anything else that kind of stands out from the weekly roundup. Should actually mention as well a bit of biasness here of being a St. Pat's fan. Delighted to see Luke McNally make his first start for Oxford last Saturday in their 2-1 win against Charlton. But I suppose probably the other standout news from there that we have to touch on is Troy, as Paul touched on earlier. He seems to be carrying that form he took from the summer internationals, hitting the ground running at NK Dongs. He's now already equalled his goal tally he did for the entire of last season.
Go on, Paul.
Yeah, it's fantastic for him. Obviously, he had a tough start with Millwall last year when he was on loan there. Went to Ipswich, got a couple of goals. Look, he's finding his feet at this level. As I said, when he got the move, it's a good move. It's not a move, it's a loan. It's a good loan. He'll get a couple of goals. He's already started that. He will get more. The standard's obviously a tiny bit lower, but look, he's scoring, and that's the main thing for us. He will be involved in the internationals because we're very light up front, really. So, look, he will be involved, and hopefully a couple more goals from him as well.
Yeah, it's a triple header as well next month, so there'll be plenty of game time from. Just fire away there, Paul Neal.
I just think on like his goals, I've been really impressed with his goals. Like, it's just one touch and bam. There's no real kind of messing around where he probably would have done it last year. He really sets himself up well to be able to strike. And he's been given good service as well. Let's not forget. I mean, you look at the 2 assists that he was given to set himself up and then score. But he's just taking them kind of first time. One touch, bang. One touch, bang. It's great to see because he's obviously full of confidence at the moment. I think he was just unlucky last year. He did get injured early on, and then he never really got any sort of momentum. Now he's riding that momentum from the at Andorra game, and seems to be really flying. And hopefully he can take that going forward next couple of weeks, and hopefully he'll be in the squad. And when we're at the qualifiers, I'm just wary of the time there for you, Ger.
All right, for another 2 or 3 minutes. Maybe just one thing that we might just touch on before we give a roundup elsewhere. If we're talking about strikers in League One scoring a couple of goals, young players as well with promising futures, does Anthony Scully belong in this conversation? We've seen glimpses last season, maybe just a little bit lack consistency, but a couple of goals early on in the season will do no harm. I
think if you're having Ronan Curtis in the conversation, you have to have Anthony Scully in the conversation. That's my opinion on it. I don't really have much more to say on that because I know we're tight for time. But I think, look, he's doing well. He's good, young and hungry. And I think if you're going to give Curtis a go, why not look at Scully? But that might be to the detriment of Curtis. I don't know. Paul,
anything else to add yourself? Or
yeah, well, as you say, Lincoln had a better season than Portsmouth did last year, so surely Scully has to be involved in the argument. Paul summed it up there. I've nothing much more to say on that.
Yeah, fair enough point. So maybe if we just touch on Scotland and maybe what some of the other Irish players did across the rest of Europe and the globe before we wrap up.
Yeah, well, in Scotland, James McCarthy did make his Celtic debut in a 3-2 win over Hearts in the League Cup. Aaron McAniff grabbed the consolation goal for Hearts there as well, which is good to see because he hasn't really been given much game time. Conor McCarthy got a goal for St Mirren in a 1-1 draw against Livingston. They did, however, go out on penalties. Jamie McGrath, Charles Dunn and Joe Shaughnessy were also involved in that. Connor Salmon grabbed an assist in League One for Alloa Athletic. He's started very well for them.
I love Connor Salmon.
Well, I watched him play for UCD and he played for Ireland as well, so he has to be mentioned. In Europe, Conor Noss was on the bench for Borussia Mönchengladbach against Bayern.
Just, I think, I don't know, Wraith Rovers, I think, beat Aberdeen and Ethan Verrier got the winner. That was his first professional goal as well. You might have missed that one, I don't know.
I might have missed that one. Back to Europe, Conor Noss, he was on the bench for Borussia Mönchengladbach against Bayern Munich, 1-1 draw there. Josh Cullen played the full 90 minutes in 2 games, a 2-1 win for Anderlecht over Lackey in Europe, and then a 2-1 win over Cercle Bruges in the league on the weekend. And Zach Elbouzedi played the full 90 in 1-0 win over Sirius for AIK, and they are now 3 points off the top in a tight title race over in Sweden.
Cheers, best mate.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see though that our players on the continent, like you touched on there, Conor Noss, I know he didn't come on. He's only a young player. Like for Mönchengladbach to draw, I know it's only the opening day of the season, to draw Bayern Munich, that's a big statement for them. And Anderlecht now, like they're obviously one round away now from the group stages of the Conference League. It'd be great. I know it's probably not the highest standard, but it'd be great to see Josh in the European stage. And after a slow start season, they picked it up. And to touch on there, like Zach Elbouzedi, like since he's gone to AIK, their form has been brilliant. They're now unbeaten in 5, just off top spot. And like you've seen what Swedish teams can do in Europe. Malmo now are, in a very, very good position to make the group stage of the Champions League. So, it's looking pretty decent and definitely going further afield. Nothing from the MLS I didn't get a chance to look myself now.
Derek Williams he played the full 90 in a 1-0 win against Minnesota, and I think it was Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, they lost 2-1 to someone, but he did grab an assist. Now, I didn't write that down because it just didn't pop into my head, but he did grab an assist, but they lost 2-1 LA Galaxy. So that's
you don't need to write it down. Look at you.
Well, I could have wrote down who they lost. That's probably the main thing.
The assist is the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good, especially from centre half getting an assist. That's good going.
Yeah, and Paul Neal, we might leave the last word to you. If you have anything to add to Paul's last roundup there?
No, I think it. Look, obviously following on from your interview with Zach Elbouzedi and all, people that really, really seem to be gravitating to him from an AIK point of view, and they seem to be really excited by him. And They love his attitude. They love the way he doesn't stop running, even if it's in the 87th minute. He's sprinting up to get involved in the attacks and stuff like that. So look, if Zach could keep the momentum that he's on, you never know. Again, regarding call-ups and this and that, I think Josh Cullen's nailed on. And Conor Noss, let's hope that he makes that debut in a couple of weeks, and then I think we need to get him capped.
Big time. I think maybe even with Zach, possibly, as you say, like, if it keeps going, maybe October, maybe this next window might come a bit too soon for him, but you never know what can happen.
Sorry, Jerry, I don't know, because Stephen's worked with him before, but Stephen will know his ability. Yeah,
that's true, yeah. I'd agree with you. I think Josh Cullen is probably, at this stage, is probably looking at nailed on starter, I think, for that game against Portugal, which is mad to think it's in just under 2 weeks' time. Where has just the time gone over the last kind of couple of weeks, and where has the time gone for today? Because we're going to have to wrap it up there, because I'm just about to start work. But it's two Pauls. Thanks very much for your time today, and we'll hopefully be back again with episode 6 next week, and hopefully we'll be back with an interview as well. Cheers, lads.
Thanks.
Cheers.